Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay, on this last Friday morning, about 6 a.m., the narcotics unit and SWAT unit from Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office served a search warrant on Antonio Davis on Renee Circle in Milton. And this is what they recovered. They recovered 15 pounds of marijuana, a bunch of Xanax, some opium derivatives, weapons, and $46,000 in cash. And we called the DEA in, and it became a joint operation. And the HIDA group, which is, we have a detective who's permanently assigned with the DEA, took the case. So basically, what you see here was 8 months of work by our narcotics unit, and this is what it came out to be. And the main thing I wanted to show you was, you hear a lot of things on television about marijuana dealers aren't violent people and it doesn't really hurt anyone. Well, these are the things we got out of his house. That's a shotgun, and then of course this is what the military calls an M4 assault rifle. So, and then there's another M4, not quite as pretty as this one, but they were all recovered from his house. So, and he was a convicted felon as well, so he's been charged with possession of a weapon, a firearm, by a convicted felon, obviously trafficking, Xanax, marijuana, and we seized his money and a vehicle. Do you have any questions?
Sheriff, why did this investigation take 8 months?
Well, and that's another thing, more arrests are forthcoming, because usually when you have an arrest and you have a drug dealer of this magnitude, there are a lot of other individuals who associate with him. So it's not something you can do in just a couple of days. So they try to get as many people that he's dealing with together as possible before you knock him off. So that's why it took so long.
Wow. Were you all given like tips from people in the community, that sort of thing, or this was just on your
yes.
radar?
No, we received a tip from a citizen.
Do you know how many people are in the ring, Sheriff?
We don't really want to say right now, but it's a lot of folks and more arrests are coming. We can tell you that much.
Just within this county or within, Northwest Florida as a whole?
The ones we know about currently are within the county.
Okay.
And there may be some adjoining jurisdictions.
Okay.
And he was operating from, I guess, where was he operating from? Where were these things found again?
His home on Renee Circle, right in Milton.
What is the total value, Sheriff, of, I guess, I could add it all up here from the information that was in the press release, but what's the total value of everything that's spread out there on the table in front of you?
Drug-wise, per pound, there was 15 pounds, and this looks like it's pretty compressed, so.
I know it was on the press release. I know it was around 37,000. I'm not looking at it right now. But while I am interrupting you, I wanted to just point out that we had about 22 grams of ice, crystal methamphetamine. The ice and the prescription medication
That's
was
the
the
ice.
focus of the investigation. Marijuana was kind of a
And that's
bonus.
that's the Xanax, which Xanax goes for about what per pill?
About $10.
$10, and there's probably
I know
100,
Rich had a,
175, 200 pills.
yeah, the press release had an approximate on the value.
Yeah, I saw those numbers. I just want to make
Right.
sure that I was reading it right.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, okay.
And, yep, there's also more ice that was found. That's a lot right there, and you can get a close-up of that later if you want to come up here and see it.
The 15 pounds is the 15 pounds of drugs overall, or the
No, that's just marijuana.
Just marijuana.
Yeah, 15 pounds of marijuana. And then the other was weighed separately.
What is ice? Is that a street name for what?
Crystal meth.
Okay.
You have methamphetamine, then you have crystal methamphetamine. It takes one more step to get it from straight meth to crystal meth.
Okay.
Makes it more potent, more expensive.
Do you think he was manufacturing those drugs in his home or?
No, there was no evidence of that.
Okay. So are you looking for potentially wherever he may have been manufacturing it?
Yes, narcotics are always, narcotics unit always wants to go up the ladder. But we're not thinking he's manufacturing any of it anywhere.
Okay.
He's just dealing it. It's the information we have.
Is this the biggest drug bust maybe this year? Or?
This year it may be. As it's not the biggest in history. We've had, bigger amounts of ice and Xanax and marijuana, so. But I think probably since I've been sheriff, this may be the biggest.
And again, this guy here was no stranger to you all, right?
No,
What had he been convicted for in the past?
I don't know right offhand.
In 2008, Captain Tucker was a detective then, arrested him for trafficking in ecstasy. And he did a 7-year minimum mandatory prison sentence on that. He's been out since 2015.
So he's been out 2 years and he's back at it. So hopefully this will be his last
Out
Drug
2 years
operation.
from, I'm sorry.
prison,
From
Prison.
federal,
State.
pardon me.
on drug charges.
When he was apprehended, were there any incidents, or did he surrender peacefully?
Yeah, he gave up. No resisting charges.
Are there any patterns, I guess, you all usually see when it comes to, drug bustle?
You mean that lead us to this?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, usually once you get a tip from a citizen and they set up and they do surveillance, you can see the traffic and you get an idea the amount of traffic going to the house as to what kind of dealer he is on what level. So, and that's what they do.
What are the charges pending against Mr. Davis at this point? Can I just make sure I get that right, please?
Right, there's possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. There's possession with intent to distribute on the marijuana and also on the Xanax.
Yes, with the Xanax possession with intent to distribute, then he had a trafficking and methamphetamine charge,
Okay, trafficking in meth,
and then there was,
heroin or a,
Dilaudid, which
Dilaudid,
is
there you go.
hydromorphone, is gonna trafficking, and that,
that's an
is an
opioid.
opioid.
What is that called?
Dilaudid.
Can you spell that?
Good opiate, the,
Hold on, I can
Okay.
spell it for you.
I can Google it.
Well, you gotta get close.
Hydromorphone is Dilaudid is the brand name,
Okay,
but it's opiate based, so you traffic in that.
okay.
Yeah, here it is, DILAUDID.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So he got those charges, and as I said, the rest, more arrests are coming, hopefully shortly.
You can't give us an idea of how many?
Just, you can say multiple.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt, there's gonna be a lot more arrests coming from this.
In terms of dealing, or in terms of buying, or?
It could be possession and also distributing. You know, it could be either or, depending on the individual.
Sure. Somebody asked about the manufacturing, I didn't know if you wanted to point out that we're not seeing the
Oh, yeah.
making of meth much, it's only.
Meth has become so cheap because of what they call super labs in Mexico. They produce them, you know, the normal meth lab here, they would do a one-pot method and get a couple of grams, a few grams. The super labs in Mexico are pounds at a time, 100 pounds at a time. So when it comes across the border and they sell it here, it's so much cheaper. It's now cheaper to buy the meth than it is to actually get the products to make it. So we're seeing very few meth labs anymore, very few.
There were charges against Mr. Davis's wife, I think. Forthcoming, pending charges, right?
Right.
Forthcoming.
So his wife lived, they both?
Mhm.
The information from, I think, Sergeant Aloy, labeled, Mr. Davis as a key player.
Mhm.
Is that a key player in the ring, sir? Can I just,
Those arrests that are forthcoming,
yeah,
yeah, they will be not as big as this arrest. Let's put it that way. They're people who associate and deal, you know, not quite on this level perhaps, but there'll be a lot more arrests coming. And also now, as I said before, the DEA is involved, so they're gonna start their investigation as well.
So this investigation involves the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit
Correct,
and the DEA
correct,
and the State Attorney's Office.
correct.
Anything
And,
else?
and the SWAT unit actually served the search warrant. Santa Rosa SWAT actually served it because they had intelligence that said he had weapons.
Okay,
So if you have drugs and weapons, that's when you get a visit from the SWAT team.
okay.
And Sheriff, can you just repeat it one more time, who all?
It was the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit, Santa Rosa County Sheriff's SWAT Team, and DEA. And there's a group that works with the DEA, that's formed by the DEA, called the HIDTA Task Force, which we have a deputy assigned to. They participated as well.
The HIDTA task
Mhm.
force?
It's HIDTA,
HIDTA, is an acronym?
yes.
Okay.
Stands for
High
Intensity Drug Trafficking Area.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And while I was interrupting, this is the largest cash seizure that we've had in quite a while.
Yeah, the $46,000. Yeah, that has,
In a
that,
wicker basket in a bedroom in a mobile home.
yeah, that's kind of odd. You don't see that too often,
Yeah.
so. 46,000, it was a little more than 46, I think.
Well, he had 45,000 some odd in the house, and he had $800-900 on his person when he was arrested in September.
Right, 46 grand. Yeah, that is a big seizure of cash.
Wow,
Yeah.
$46,000 on it.
Mhm.
Wow.
You said, did you say you seized a car as well?
A truck, yes, his truck.
Okay.
Mhm. Which if we can prove that he uses it to further his drug business, then that's when we can take it. And actually, it was seized by the DEA, actually.
Does his wife by chance have prior history?
Blake, does his wife have a prior history?
Nothing significant. I know she has a prior arrest for what, I don't think it's anything significant like the
Yeah,
episode.
so no drug history, let's put it that way, that we know.
So more arrests are forthcoming, and what's next for Mr. Davis here?
Well, Mr. Davis is gonna have a first appearance, but the DEA's involved, so it can be taken federal. So if it's taken federal, he'll be brought into federal court, which is not good for him.
What makes this so key, Sheriff, is that just the amount of everything, just the
Right.
amount of,
Well, the fact that he just got out of prison, he's a convicted felon, and this is what he's got. He's doing his drug dealing here in Santa Rosa County, and he's using these weapons to, he would say to protect himself, but obviously it's an intimidation factor on the people buying drugs from him. So, that's what makes this so, I guess you would say significant. The fact he's a convicted felon with assault weapons and this amount of money and drugs. You don't see it very often, especially in Santa Rosa County. Anything else? Y'all are really easy today. This is scaring me to death.
Just one final, I guess,
Mhm.
if you wanted to give a comment on your narcotics team here, and what you think the positives are of obviously getting all these drugs. and
Yeah, well, the great thing is you can't really quantify what the drug unit does, because when they get this off the street, you think, wow, this is a lot of Xanax, this is a lot of marijuana, this is a lot of meth, but you don't know how many lives they saved, because obviously these drugs are never gonna hit the street, they're gonna be destroyed. So you don't know how many overdoses they prevented, but you can say by the amount of drugs that you see here, it's a definite benefit for the citizens of Santa Rosa County that these aren't gonna be on the street anymore, and that he's not gonna be on the street anymore.
what is, what jumps out at you about this bust, about this, this arrest and everything? What jumps out about this whole investigation for you, Sheriff?
The thing that jumps out the most are the weapons. That's what scares me the most, because you have to remember, our SWAT team kicks in his door, and if you go in and he's got one of these, and all three, or these two right here, will go through a vest. If he shoots an officer with one of these, it'll go through the vest, through the officer, out the back of the vest, and continue going. The assault weapons right here are the ones that just scare me to death, because, you know, that can hurt a lot of people. But as I said, they're off the street now permanently, so it was a good day.
Was he employed anywhere?
No,
Self-employed.
yeah, self-employed,
Right.
and making lots of money apparently. You have $46,000 laying around. Y'all wanna get your shots, you can. Thanks, guys, for coming out, I appreciate it.
Sheriff, can I get a shot of you maybe holding up one of the evidence bags or something?
Sure.
If that's possible.
Oh, yeah, it is. Let me pick a good one. That's about 175 Xanax.
Thank you.
Can you repeat that?
About 175 Xanax. that's the meth.